Welcome to Rick Rack Ruby. I'm Laura Cluvo. Today we will be making this stuffed angel Christmas ornament with vintage lace. She's fun and easy, so let's get started. To make this stuffed angel ornament, we'll start with our pattern. I've used this pattern before for a snowman. Start with a rectangle of graph paper that is 4.5 inches tall and 2 1/4 wide. And fold it in half like this, and then just cut along here, and be sure to, at the top, to leave a straight 1/4 inch. I'll just leave it here for a second so you can see, you can do a screenshot. Let's see, try to make it straight. And the only trick or secret I would say is go straight here and then a gentle curve. Don't go, you know, just not sharp, just gentle curves. Now I use that pattern to cut out a piece of iron-on interfacing, and I ironed it to the back of my wool felt. Here I actually ironed 2, and now I'll cut that out right on the edge. Now we're going to embroider the face, and it's easy to make the face too big. So I like to give myself some guidelines. I fold this in half and just draw a line up the center. This is a disappearing marker, and then I'll fold it in half this way. That looks good. I think I cut this out a little bit crooked, but I think it'll be okay. And then I want my face to be in here. So this line is actually where the eyes go. An eye, little nose up high, and a little heart mouth like this. So those are the features. There's eyebrows too. The first several angels that I made, I chose colors that were too bright and stark. I'll show you that. Stay tuned to the end and you'll see the, oof, she looks like an angel who's wearing too much makeup. So I chose some colors that are a little bit more subtle, and I like these better. This is sort of a coral color for the mouth and nose. I have like an olive green-ish for the eyes, and a brownish for the eyebrow. Specifically, this is DMC 893, 730. Oh, this is not even DMC, this is something else. Iris 228. But you can see it's kind of a, I don't know, a neutral brown color, I would say. So I'm going to start with the eyes. I'm going to use 2 strands of this green. My needle, it's thin and long, it's a little bit bent, but I like that needle, so I just keep using it. One benefit of having the interfacing on the back is to prevent the thread from like this shadowing through. Also, this is 100% wool felt, so that helps also. Okay, there's 3 stitches for the eye. They're triangles, so it's just with 2 strands, you go one here, and one here in the middle. One here, and one in the middle. And of course, this is bigger than I'm going to make. Then I'm going to take my brown floss, 2 strands, and I'm going to create an eyelid like this. And then an eyebrow up here. Since I have the pencil out, I might as well finish. For the mouth, it's also 2 strands. These are lazy daisies, so there's 1 lazy daisy here, 1 lazy daisy here. And then we go straight across to form her mouth. It looks kind of like a little heart. I would come a little bit closer together with those. There we go, that looks better. And then just a little straight stitch for the nose, kind of like that. The blush on the cheeks really brings the face to life. We'll do that later though. All right, so I've already marked the placement for the eyes, but that's not exactly the shape of the eyes. You know, sometimes when I'm working with children, I'll just make a little boop, that's the eye, that's the eyebrow, you know, and then they just stitch exactly on that spot. and I have to explain now, this is just a placement mark for the eyes. This is not exactly the shape of the eyes. Okay, so there's a straight stitch. I start at the bottom and go up to the top. Okay, and then the third stitch is in the center to sort of fill in that opening there. If there's a little bit of space, it's okay. That looks good. I'm going to secure it. It's not hard to secure because I have 3 stitches on the back, so I can easily secure that. And I also know that I'm going to go over it with the eyelid stitch, so I'm not too worried about it. Now for the second eye, I'll try to do something similar, but if it's not exactly identical, it's okay. So there's 1 straight stitch. Oh, that's a little bit too straight. It's a little too vertical, right? Let me see. I think might be okay. All right, so then this one out here. That might be too long. Yeah, it looks okay. And then the filler, the center right here. That looks good. I think this eye is a tiny bit bigger than that eye, but I don't think it's really any big deal. So I'll secure this thread in the back too. Now for the eyelid, I'm going to go about like that and about like that. So I'm going to start down here and diagonally cross over the colored part of the eye. Kind of like that. That looks good. Okay, I'm going to secure that thread in the back. For this other eyelid, I'll try to make it approximately the same, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the eyebrows too with this 2 strands of brown thread. Cute. And then a little eyebrow up above. That looks good. I should have made my eyebrow when I was sewing the eyelid, but I forgot, so I'll do it now. Okay, for the mouth, I have 2 strands of the coral thread, and I've, drawn a little indicator for the mouth, and I'm going to do a lazy daisy right here. Try to keep it small and tight. There's one side. I'll be a little bit more instructive. Okay, this is like the little petal of a daisy. So you come up through the center bottom, and then you sort of form a loop with the thread like that, but you reinsert the needle in the exact same hole and then come up inside the loop. See how we're in the loop? So when I pull it gently, the loop tightens up like that. That actually looks really good. And then to secure the top edge of the loop, I'm going to reinsert my needle there above the top edge of the loop. Now that looks fine like that, but I'd like to add a straight line across the whole thing. It kind of establishes the line between the top lip and the bottom lip, so it looks more like the shape of a mouth like that. I'm going to secure this on the back, but I'm not going to cut it because I still want to stitch the nose. The nose is just a little tiny straight stitch. Even though it's really small, you can definitely see it because of the contrast of the thread. just maybe like 1/8 of an inch, just straight across. Don't pull it too tight. You want it to be, you know, raised up on the surface. It doesn't matter if it's a little crooked or whatever, that just adds to the whimsy. So I'll secure my thread. And this is disappearing marker, so those little purple lines will go away. Now I want to add the dress. This is a 3 by 5 inch rectangle of my dress print. It's just sort of a neutral, kind of a subtle leafy print. It's a nice contrast to my lace, which is fairly white. So I think that's going to work really well. What I want to do is put these right sides together like this. Then I'm going to sew straight across here, right along this little, her neck right here. And then I'll fold this down after I stitch it. I'll fold it down like this. And then I'm going to sew all the way around the edge. I know this piece is a little large. I just like to give myself plenty of room. Then I'm going to stitch around the edge and trim it. I just wanted to be sure you could see that I sewed it. I was looking at the underside when I sewed across, and then I'm going to flip this over and pin and stitch around the outside. Here we go. I sewed around the edge, and I'm going to trim this fabric, and I'll take 3 or 4 lengths of this lace and just kind of line them up. Probably the longest one at the bottom, or the widest one at the bottom. There's a little bow right there. It's so cute. So I want to center that. I'll probably do 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 pieces of this lace. I have made a couple of these, but it's been a while. Okay, so 1, and then just kind of overlap. But anyway, I got all of these in one lot of lace, and so it's kind of fun to try to keep them together. All right, I'm going to line these up, pin, and stitch them, and I'll be back. All right, so I added 3 rows of lace, and I think the only thing to mention is that I did zigzag along all 4 sides of each piece of lace. So I started at the bottom. If you leave the bottom edge loose, sometimes when you turn it and stuff it, it kind of folds in on itself. It's hard to explain, but trust me, just go ahead and zigzag that down. Okay, now I was debating about whether or not to add a little button. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but you do want to be sure to just leave some space here. You could, if you have lace here, it's just going to be covered by her collar. So I might add that, but I'll do it later. Now here's my fabric. So I'm just going to go right sides together, maybe like this, and I'll cut out a piece a little bit bigger and then sew around the edge, and then I'll be back. I stitched around the edge and then I trimmed the back, and there's nothing really remarkable except that I did go back and forth 3 times at the top. So when I turn it, I don't want that to come apart. So I made sure these two, the start and the stop, were very secure. I got my pinking shears out because I do want to pink along the edge, but I sewed so close. I don't really think it's going to be very necessary except for down here. I can also see that I went a little crooked there, and I think that's fine. I think it just adds to the charm. I like to do this over my garbage can. There we go. Now I'll turn it right side out. There we go. So let's hope all the edges caught. I was sewing a little close to the edge. Oh, look, her face is so cute. That looks good. When you look at her at this point, it might seem like she has a lot of cheek on the side here, but when you stuff it, it's more like that, and the proportions are pretty good. I'm going to stuff it with Polyfill Ultra Plush. Doesn't take too long, but I'm still not going to make you watch me stuff. Just a little bit at a time. Pack it all the way in. Make sure those the rounded edges are nice and smooth. Okay, she's all stuffed, so let's gather up the top of her head. I'm going to start by securing. I have a doubled strand of quilting thread. I'm going to start by securing the knot in the seam allowance here, and then I'm just going to do a running stitch all the way around the top here, about 1/4 of an inch down. If anything along the seams or even on the back looks a little weird, don't worry about it because it's going to be covered by the hair. Okay, I'm back to where I started, so I'm going to tuck all that stuffing in and gently tug, tucking all those ends in like that, nice and tight. And then I'm going to go through a few more times, making sure to pull those up nice and tight. Then I'm going to secure this on the back with a knot. I do a French knot, and usually I can just sort of pop it through like that. That works for me. Okay, now this step is really important. Remember, well, first of all, remember how far down it seemed like the face was? But you can see once you get this all wrapped around and gathered up, it's right in the best spot. Okay, now I might be making a mistake by using the same thread, but now we're going to sort of tighten up the neck. Once you add that ruffle, it makes her neck kind of large, and so I want to bring it in a little by kind of gathering it in like this. This is just so you can see what we're doing, but I am going to secure it here and here. I feel like if I secure it in the side, there's all the seam allowance and everything, and it's going to stand up to this tugging a little better. And then I'm going to wrap around like this. The tighter you can get it, the better. Okay, so now I'm going to tie this off in the back. For her collar, I'm going to use this lace. It doesn't really matter what you use. It can be wider, it can be a different color, it can be just about anything. I'm going to use about 24 inches of this. And then I'll just gather up along the top straight edge. Here, turn around. There you go. With a running stitch. First, I'm going to make sure I have the right side up. Do I? Sometimes it's hard to tell. Okay, that's the right side. And then I'm going to secure the thread in the fold. See, I folded under that little bit there. And then I'll just do this running stitch really close to the straight edge up here. Just in and out, all the way around. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to place this around her neck. And join the ends together in the back. Then before I tie it off, I want to just make sure that the gathers are distributed evenly. And then I'll join the ends and tie off my thread. I had enough room to add the button, so I'm sewing a button on right there. It's, I don't like it to be right in the middle of the lace, and I don't like it to be up here, but just kind of so that the center of it overlaps the top edge. That's just kind of like the way I like it. So I'm going to secure this thread in the back. For the hair, I'm going to use one strand of this fuzzy mohair and one strand of this loopy mohair. I'm going to wrap This is 2 4x6" index cards, and I'm going to wrap them from one side to the other. It doesn't have to, they don't have to be wrapped really tightly, but you do need to go all the way across. So just like this. I know it's so hard to hold it the way so that you can see it, but this is the idea. I like to keep this finger under here, making sure I don't pull the yarn too tightly. All the way to the opposite end. This is a lot of hair. This project, it's funny. It really, the proportions are off. Her head, once you get the hair on especially, is large. And it's large especially compared to the little body. And I kind of like that. I think it's kind of whimsical and charming. So that's the idea. Anyway, now I'm going to, on my sewing machine, sew through the middle this way. I'm going to go back and forth 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And I'll be right back. Now I'm going to remove the card. I'll fold it back and forth a few times. And then I'll tear it and remove it. I've got my thumb inside here. I can kind of work my way up. And then this way. Ideally, these come out in nice straight pieces. But every once in a while, there'll be a little piece that clings and I have to go in and find it. But this one turned out perfectly. All right, this looks like a lot of hair, and it is. The hair is going to go around like this. And then fold it back. I'm going to glue it and then fold it back and make a top knot. It's hard to describe, so I'll just show it to you. I got my glue gun here and my sewing machine over here, and I don't think I've used my glue gun yet. So I'm going to apply some glue right here at the top of her head. I'm gluing the center seam of the wig with hot glue along the edge of the face. Then when I get to the back, I'm going to add more hot glue back here and then press that in until the ends meet in the back. That looks good. Let's see how she looks. All right, that looks good. I told you this is a lot of hair. But if you like, you could always do something a little more subtle. All right, so now I'm going to tie off her hair. Like this on the top. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to tie it off nice and tight a bunch of times. And then I'm going to use the needle to go through just to be sure that it's really secure. Great, and then I'll tie this one more time. I like to put the knot over on one side because I know that I'm going to be, gluing some kind of a decoration right there. And that way I can be sure that the knot's going to be nice and, sealed with that glue. Great. That looks cute. Now I need a hanging loop. I've got some 1/16 inch satin ribbon for my hanging loop. I'm just going to sew that through just below her top knot there. Make a nice long loop. Doesn't have to be super long, but it's kind of annoying if they're too short. There we go, just a little overhand knot. Trim those. And then for her halo, I have about 6 inches of 20 gauge gold wire, which I'm twisting together like this for about 1 inch. Then fold it down like this. This is like an egg dyeing wire. I'm going to apply some glue here at the ends and just press that into the center of her top knot. Like that. Okay, hold that for a second. We are in the home stretch. I use this Spellbinders lacy circles, 3 1/4 inches. And I'm going to fold it in half. This is for the wings, making sure that this right here is a complete scallop and it's not like this. All right, then I'm going to pin it and stitch around the edge with, I call it a triple straight stitch. So just go all the way around. Here we go, there's the wings. So I'm going to apply some hot glue right here to the center top, like a little penny of glue. Sorry, my camera ran out of storage for a second, so I had to take care of that. I glued the wings on, and now I'm adding some blush to the cheeks. That always adds so much to the personality of the little character. Now, as promised, I will show you some other examples of this project. This one is the first one that I made, and I felt like the colors were just a little too bright. There's just a lot of contrast in that face there. Then, okay, this is the one I just made. I'm still waiting for the purple lines to disappear. And then this one, I thought it might be fun to try adding a little stitch of white to look like the little whites of her eyes or a little sparkle in her eye, which that was fine. I don't know. It didn't really make that big of a difference. Also, I did not add that little line across the middle of the mouth, and that looks really cute too. This one has a satin ribbon bow. This one has really nothing, and then this one has the button. Thank you for watching my tutorial. If you're enjoying my videos, please like, share, and subscribe.